and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
This is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into today's movie, head on over to our Patreon. Check that out. We have a bunch of bonus content over there. We talk about new movies. We do trivia. It's a lot of fun, and you get it for $5 a month. But no main show content is locked behind Patreon. But getting into this Tuesday's movie, well, should say it's anime week, Ryan. Another anime week, of course. These just pop up
Ohio.
randomly. Oh, konnichiwa, right? That's what I think. Yeah, I think it's well
We
well
see
deserved.
you say arigato like we say arigato.
Yes, yeah.
Japanese, very easy.
What a great,
What a
you know,
memorable quote.
that's a memorable quote. That's a line from a movie, but we don't have to get into that. But we're getting into Metropolis from 2001. Not the silent movie from the 20s, the
I
Japanese
love Fritz
anime
Lang.
movie. Yeah, no, Fritz Lang is supposedly an inspiration. You see that everywhere, but then then you read into it, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I saw like a poster for it," and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then they made this
Yeah.
movie. But it is also based off of a
That-
manga from the 40s as well. So there's a lot of inspiration here. I've seen it as this is a remake of Metropolis. It is not. It is not a remake of Metropolis. I can tell you that right here,
uh,
right now. It has almost nothing to do with Metropolis.
I was about to say there's one aspect of this movie that's about the same as that,
Mhm.
the main the girl, there's a robo girl. That's about the only similarity.
Yeah, kind of like an Astro Girl in a way. Um,
I don't know if I'd say that.
you
I
wouldn't?
mean,
Okay.
well, because I mean, that you're talking about Astro Boy, the Nick Cage movie that came out after this.
Oh yeah. Well, isn't that crazy that that Astro Boy, the Nick Cage movie? I forgot Nick Cage was in that movie. But I forgot that movie ripped off of this one. Um this
Yeah.
movie this movie's directed by Rintaro. Uh a one word name, man. I always love seeing movies with people that just go by one name. I don't
Makes
know.
you
I
wish
think it's fun.
Cher directed a movie.
I know Cher. There, I'm trying to think of famous directors that go by one name. There's a few. They're not coming to mind. One of them produced like Chuck. Um, Terminator Salvation, wasn't that directed by a one
Oh,
word?
Mick G.
McG, that's it. Yeah, I love McG. That's not even a name. But we're getting
It's somebody's name.
Yeah, well, true. But we're getting off topic here. I'm going off the going out there. Metropolis is kind of just a big sci-fi production. It's a sci-fi movie. Of course, I had to pick it. I've always been interested in this one for a very long time. Just always seemed interesting. I love the silent film, and I love the just the look of what I've seen here. Ryan, what's your experience with this one?
I think I saw the cover for this movie about like 1,000 times at Blockbuster. Like I remember it always being there.
Hmm.
Um, but I've known about this movie, I think, ever since it came out. So
Hmm.
I've always had a passing interest, but I was it never seemed like one that I would go out of my way to see, even though like when you look, it's always like the 100 best anime movies of all time. It's like
Hmm.
that this movie is on there. I think both of our movies this week are actually on there. So
Yes, yeah. I think both the movies we picked, I always end up on those lists, or some of the most memorable anime movies of all time.
yeah,
Kind of like not based off a series or anything. I mean, they both are based off of manga, right? Vampire Hunter D is based off of like a manga.
right.
Yeah. Um, but they both have their own movies. And
But I
Metropolis. Oh, go ahead.
I had the same experience as you. Like when I would see it, I was like, oh, they just did an anime version of Metropolis.
Which would be really cool. But I think it's cool what they do here as well. This movie, I was watching it, and I mean, there's a plot there, and I will give you the plot, but there is so much to it. Like, it's like an overload. It's almost like a sensory overload movie. It's giving you the city of Metropolis, and you see all the intricacies of it. There's robots, there's politics, there's just like some insane visuals going on. so much going on. This movie must have cost a ton of money to make because just the art design in itself is just dense. It is an insane looking movie.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful to
Yeah.
watch.
Hmm.
As far as like the story goes, it there's a lot there because they're building an entire world, and it's like
Yeah.
there's like different subgroups, political groups, like you said. There's
Hmm.
a lot going on. So this movie definitely is not taking the easy route of like, oh, here's a Robo Girl and they got to protect her. It's like, no, no, there's a lot more going on here.
There's nuance here, guys. This is a universe I'm building. And yeah, and that's what it feels like. Just even right off the bat, we have like it's a giant party and there's this cool guy with sunglasses on who you think is cool at first, but I ended up hating this guy. Um did you hate you
Speak for
love this
yourself.
guy? You loved
He's
him?
so he's cool.
He's cool, but he's a horrible person.
Yeah.
Rock. Um
Name one bad thing he did.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into it. Which is funny because Rock, come to find out, is not in the manga. He was actually added just for the movie. And the IMDb trivia, I think it says he was added to make the movie more interesting, which is a funny, I think that's a funny way to put it. Um, but he is the son of the highest political figure in the city Metropolis who is opening up a skyscraper called the Ziggurat. Just a huge skyscraper, and it has some sort of energy source that can control the world. And the giant political leader is making a robot girl that will be able to take will be able to harness that power and take over the world. But for the good, but for good in his eyes.
And
Um,
Rock ain't having that. He did not want the
exactly.
robot girl to be leading this town.
Hates robots. Just can't stand them. Probably some of the most brutal robot violence that I've seen in a movie. Because like this, it was really interesting because there's no thought. There was no like second chances. He sees a robot, they're dead. Even characters that I liked, the robot characters, they just die. They just get shot, and it's really jarring.
What movie do you think had the most robot violence to it?
I
Most
don't know. There's like I Robot. Do they destroy a bunch of robots at the end of that movie?
well, no. The obvious answer is Short Circuit too.
Oh, well, I've never seen Short Circuit 2, so I can't say.
Oh well, I'll have a YouTube link to send you after this.
Okay, well, it doesn't reach the heights of Short Circuit 2. I will say that.
But no, I like they'll just be like little cute looking robots too, or like little mascot looking robots, or like robots that are like walking a dog or something, and they just get
Murdered.
demolished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing I thought was very interesting about this movie, I referenced Astro Boy earlier because the characters in this movie have that similar style. If you've seen Astro Boy, you know what the characters in this are going to look like. And they're very cutesy. And it's the very cutesy characters against a really cold, dark background full of like murder and violence. And I don't know. In my head, I just thought the two things clashed. I thought the art style of the characters clashed a little bit with the background of the city. Not that I didn't like it because of it. I was just kind of like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
It, I mean, I know that's the art style of Astro Boy, so I understand like
Mm,
that's that. And then they also did Kimba the Lion
yes,
too.
yeah.
So that a lot of those characters have the same sort of similarities.
Mm,
But some of them look too cartoonish. So I mean,
mhm.
and I mean, not that it took away from my overall enjoyment, but from it being like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like that, it for me getting a perfect score, I guess.
Yeah,
It
yeah, exactly. It
because
kind of takes away.
the clash was a little much for me because some of them it's like they would have like cartoonishly like the main bad guy, like Duke Red,
Hmm.
or yeah, his like his nose is bigger than his entire face. So
Yeah, he's got like a bird
I,
nose.
right, so it's like it's hard to take some of these characters serious when they have like such cartoonish looking faces and everything, except for Rock. I mean, he's got the sunglasses. He's looking cool.
Okay, yeah. You're just a big rock head. That's all I'm getting out of this.
I know what I'm cosplaying to my next convention.
Oh, it'd be a pretty good cosplay. I hope someone would be able to notice you. And just a shirt says "I am Rock from Metropolis 2001." And
I
you'll be
just would
like,
say that over and over.
"I'm Rock from Metropolis 2001." Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but so what happens is Rock finds out that his father is going to let this robot girl take over. Um, is going to let this robot girl take over the city. He doesn't like that one bit. So he goes in and blows up the place where she's at, but she survives. And there's a whole subplot before this with an uncle and nephew looking for a parts like a
Um,
harvester, like an organ harvester, because they're
yeah.
looking for a relative.
They're looking for the doctor that because he's an international criminal because for organ
Yes, yeah.
harvesting. So they're trying to go after him, and the doctor's the one that created this girl.
Yeah, so there's like the connection there, there's threads, but they get split up in this explosion because that's where it leads. There's also a really great character that shows up, a robot detective. Really liked him. He reminded me of Nick Valentine from Fallout 4, if you've ever played Fallout 4. I actually think it was ripped from this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a direct
And
inspiration.
old Pero.
Yeah, Pero. Yeah, it's like, oh, let's give the robots dogs names because I guess they're not allowed to have real human names.
Well,
That's
yeah, because he's like he gave this really long serial number. Please call me. And it's just like
yeah.
they're like, we're not gonna do that.
Well, see, and that's why I like this movie. I always enjoy a movie that's really like dedicated to like world building, and it's like he like just explains everything. It's like, oh yeah, certain robots are not allowed outside of Zone Zero. That's downstairs, and then if you go up, certain robots can't be here, and just kind of giving you the whole mythology of this whole city. It's really interesting. I do think it makes some dialogue feel maybe wooden because it is definitely exposition heavy. Like it's like there's some moments where it's like, here you go, here's all the exposition. Let's move on with the movie. But I don't mind it because it's at least interesting.
Right. I liked a lot of the interactions. So like when they got separated, the boy, his name is Kenichi,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and when he gets separated with I gotta say, figure out her name. What was it again? It was like
Oh, give me a sec.
Tima. That's
Tima.
it.
Tima. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he had Tima and Kenichi like having interacting, like I liked it. It's like
Mhm.
I am me and you are you, and she's like, oh, I am you and you are me, and he's like, yeah, wait, no, like what?
Yeah. No, I like their interaction too. I thought they had a really nice like relationship because they're really close and they kind of survive for a while and Rock finds out about them still being alive and they have to go through chasing. That's when they find the robot Fifi, who's like a trash robot, another robot I really liked, and Rock just blows his robo brains out. But he protects them. I don't know. I thought it was a really sweet scene, but also hard to watch.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
it all works out in the end for Fifi.
That's true. Fifi does, spoilers as usual, but Fifi does come back in the end, which I was happy to see him one more time.
See, I just thought Rock looked real cool when he did that.
When he killed a robot in cold
Yeah.
blood. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's like that. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, well, and we haven't even gotten into that Rock's like the leader of a group of like
The
fascists.
Marduk.
Yeah, the Marduk that like they tried to overthrow, but they kind of got toned down. They got tried to overthrow the government. They got toned down, and now all they do is just kill robots that kind of get outside of their sector, and they kill a ton of robots. Bunch of robo haters. While these two are running around, I feel like a lot more gets developed. They meet up with like a almost what do you call it? Rebels, and they team up with him. Do you remember the leader of the rebels' names or his name?
I think I know one of them's name was Atlas.
Atlas. Okay.
And you know who I was like I know who that
Yes.
voice is by
Okay,
hearing
yeah,
it.
that's why I asked you so I could look it up. As soon as I heard him, I was like, "Oh, that's Aladdin."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, that is like, as soon as I heard his voice, like that is Aladdin.
Yeah, which is so funny. There's a lot of like a lot of famous, like if you know like voice actors a little bit, there's people that pop up in this one. Um but but yeah, they team up. Um there's a really great scene where you can't trust any human at all because even the leader Atlas will just like kill a robot just in the name of rebelling against the government because they don't care about them.
Yeah, I mean, robots are definitely treated like things, and like they're killed pretty carelessly.
Yeah, because they have that whole scene where they tried to harness the power of the sun with the telescope, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's going to make all the robots on the ground level. They're going to freak out." The president's just like, "Whatever, it's just a trial run," and so that means all of them freak out, and that gives Marduk the plan, the go ahead, and they just start murdering everybody. We haven't talked about the music yet. Jazz music throughout this. It's really interesting, like Louisiana jazz music. It's such an odd choice. You look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I I it reminded me of like the jazz music I would hear in like Woody Allen movies.
Okay, yeah, I got
Like,
you.
cause like there's one in Sleeper where he's like
Hmm.
like trying to get like on this gyro backpack or whatever, and it's like
Hmm.
playing music like this, where it's like the
Hmm.
Louisiana style like jazz thing,
Yeah.
and it's like. So I kept thinking, it's like, I wonder, like, I kept thinking of the joke there. I wonder if Woody Allen did the music for this movie.
Well, it would in 2001, he was still making plenty of movies. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
he showed up at the Oscars later, and everyone cheered him.
Yeah, God, how times have changed with like now it's like, oh no, we can't like Woody Allen, even though we knew he was a bad
Why?
guy for so long. You don't have to know. If you don't know, I don't want to ruin those movies for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't spoil it. I'm sure it's going to be revealed in the movies.
You're going through his filmography one. Could you imagine it going through someone's filmography and reading like news articles about them as you watch each movie? It's like, oh, okay, I just finished this one. Let me read what happened between then
You
and
look
real
up
life.
the news between the movies.
And I have to keep going. Oh, that's actually pretty funny. I like that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah. Let's do that. Let's find a director we don't know, and then look up news articles after every year.
Yeah, that sounds like a horrible idea. Oh
Yeah.
man. Um, but moving on from there.
Anyway, music is
Um,
great. Loved it.
no,
Great
I
music.
did like the music. I think it made it stand out. It made it very interesting. I mean, like something unique. Whereas like you'd expect something very synth heavy, sci-fi heavy. Instead, it kind of flips it in a way. It's almost reminiscent of like 20s silent film music, and it does a lot of that with its editing too, where like it does like the zoom in cutout where it goes into the circle to focus on an object. I like small touches like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I there's so much to see in this movie,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's, I mean, you could just pause it, and like there's like a whole, like, I mean, just the animation alone just is so impressive looking. I mean, like I said, even though they are kind of cartoonish, but like the action scenes, they are so well animated that
yeah, yeah.
I it's moved it's a even if the movie wasn't great, it's still a fun movie to watch.
Exactly, like the chase scene through the city streets where she's like getting pushed on like a cart, and they go through every section, and they go through like literally like dumpy buildings and everything. It's like you said, it's like it's really neat. But at its core, you have a really good relationship between these two. I actually thought the movie was wrapping up at a certain point because all the parties do meet up at some point in the movie on these snowy stairs, and it's after one a big rebel attack, and I was like, okay, they're all here. The little boy just got like kneed and is hurt. Um, but no, it actually the main president gets the Robo Girl back, and she's going to take her back and do her thing with her. And Rock kind of gets taught a lesson. It's like, hey, this is what's happening. Okay, this is the and he begrudgingly agrees to it. So he's kind of a
Yeah.
wuss.
No, I thought he looked cool there
Oh, okay,
too.
okay, I gotcha. Yeah, uh, but that that kind of all comes together for that giant final scene where they're like in the the danger room from X-Men, where it's like a giant square, and the main girl Tima, she is questioning if she's a human or a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when she learns she's a robot, it everything falls apart because she's seen all of the abuses and kind of everything that the robots get put through, and she's going to exact her revenge on everybody.
Yeah, because there is like the big like philosophical question in this movie, that you kind of see in other movies with robots. It's like, do robots like how close are robots to humans, and
Hmm.
do they actually have feelings, or are they objects or people? And
Hmm.
like you said, it's whenever she does take control of the throne, it's at that moment like all of her humanity kind of disappears from her, and then she just kind of becomes like this real cold killer, and she's kind of goes on a rampage throughout the city, and like even Kenichi's like trying to get her to stop, and
Hmm.
he's not really having much luck.
No, he is constantly like pushing her or him away. And this is happening with the song oh god. Why is it I Can't Stop Loving You playing in the background really loud as the whole city crumbles and falls
Yeah.
apart. It's actually real. I once again very striking music choice, but I thought it worked really well. I thought it was really interesting, very contrasting. Um, and I actually was like thought the ending was really good for this movie because she kind of falls out of the system in a moment that reminded me of Akira actually because she has wires kind of hooked into her and they're kind of like melding into her body, and she's not strong anymore. She's actually just being kind of thrown around and she's like
Mhm.
dangling on like girders, and he tries to save her. Kenichi tries to save her, but she ends up dying anyway. Just kind of depressing, sad.
Yeah, it
I,
was.
yeah, yeah. Did you cry?
Well, I cried because Rock died.
Oh yeah, yeah. That did happen. Yes, because Rock freaks out at the end of the movie and decides he's gonna kill everybody because he doesn't want any robots in power. Um,
Still
yeah,
look cool.
still look cool. I agree. But that's not the end of the movie. Kenichi does live, and so does his uncle. Fifi survives, and it's kind of like you see this all the time in sci-fi apocalypse movies. It's like we're returning back to nature. We're all living together, and the government's been overthrown.
Yeah, it was a nice. It's a moment like you said. That you see quite a lot where it's like the calm after the storm
Hmm.
type of thing, where they're all kind of just like, well, city's destroyed, but at least we have each other type of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but yeah, they Fifi's back, and there's like,
Hmm.
oh, hey, Fifi.
Yeah, it's that easy. He's just like, "Oh, hey, Fifi, yeah, what's up?" And not like the last time you saw him, he was like dead on the ground or anything. Um,
Right. Um, yeah, but I like the movie overall. I, if I'm going to be completely honest, and this is just more my preference,
mhm,
a lot of times it takes a lot for me to love a movie with such extensive world building in it,
mhm,
and especially with something like this one where it's just kind of like they just kind of dump it all on you, and you're just like, okay, like here's this thing going on, here's this thing going on, and we got this group, we got that group, and this is what they're doing, this is what their goal. So there's a
mhm,
lot to take in. For me, like when I'm having to like process a lot of that stuff, and it kind of weighs down on me just a tad.
mhm,
Um, I do while I would have liked a little less of the world building,
mhm,
I do like the movie. I mean, because it does have a lot of style to it, and it does make you appreciate a lot of the animation that's involved, and
mhm.
there are some likable characters in this one too. So it's definitely not a bore or anything like that. But just for me being like, oh my god, this is a great movie. That was just a little thing. That's just me being nitpicking in my own personal preferences.
No, and I agree with you. I actually I am heaping praise onto this movie because I do think it's a really cool movie, really neat, and I like a movie with world building. I think it's always interesting when a director tries to put all that in there, but I don't think all of it works to the extent where I would agree. Like, I don't love this movie. It's not like, oh wow, this movie is topping my anime charts, and
Exactly.
that chart is very low, but like, with the amount of movies, but it's I think I really do think the animation style clashing kind of killed a little bit of it for me. I do
Sure.
think some of the dialogue is a little wooden, but it's a movie that I appreciate. And I always love a movie that, like, I was watching it and I was like, wow, this is just like a feast for the eyes. It's just an amazing looking movie. So would I recommend this movie? I would. I actually think it's a really interesting looking movie. Don't go in expecting like the next anime movie godsend. This is the masterpiece of them all, but I do think it's a really interesting movie.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put this. Well, I guess maybe if I have to put on a list of 100 anime movies, maybe I would put it on there.
Yeah, maybe a
But
little lower on the list.
yeah, like 83,
Yeah. Oh,
something like
eight.
that.
Wow, very specific. Yeah. Well, I let show me the letterbox list, and then I'll see what's up.
I'll get right on that. But no, I agree. It's definitely worth watching. I There's nothing in here that I felt overly bad. Like I said, there's
Mhm,
a just bear in mind there is a lot of world building in here, and there's a
mhm,
lot to take in. But
mhm.
I think if you take the time, you'll appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But that does wrap it up for today. But Ryan, remind everybody, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're going to be talking about Vampire Hunter D. This is a sequel to the original Vampire Hunter D movie. It's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, and that one is for free on YouTube right now, the English dub at the very least.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch that. And if you want to email us, you can email us at drivein double feature podcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us over at X at the IDF pod. You can also go to our Patreon, say hello. You know what? It might be a little fun over there. I don't know where I'm going with this, but until next time.
Until next time.